Welcome to 755 Live, about 5 minutes of what Jesus said. You can catch a different command of Jesus every weekday at our Bible plan at bible.today.church. Jesus commanded that we go make disciples by teaching them all of the things that he commanded, teaching them to obey. Well, we can't very well obey what Jesus said if we don't know what he said. So that's the whole vision and purpose behind these 5-minute segments. If this is meaningful to you, it really helps if you comment, if you like, if you share. It just helps us get the word out. Today's Jesus said is settle it together in person. This is a soundbite that comes from Matthew 18:15 through 17, where Jesus said, if another believer sins against you, or some translations say if a brother sins against you, go privately and point out the offense. If the other person listens and confesses it, you have won that person back. But if you're unsuccessful, take one or two others with you and go back again, so that everything you say may be confirmed by 2 or 3 witnesses. If the person still refuses to listen, take your case to the church. Then, if he or she won't accept the church's decision, treat that person as a pagan or a corrupt tax collector. Jesus gave us a very specific process about how to settle differences, especially when someone wrongs you or sins, and what we're supposed to do. Jesus never said, be a mind reader. He said, settle it together in person. Most relationship problems deal with miscommunication. And when we don't obey the simple commands that Jesus gave us, many times we can get caught up in a lot of disinformation, a lot of mind reading, trying to figure out what's going on with the other person. And Jesus gave us very specific steps to deal with conflict among believers. And these aren't just suggestions, they're commands. It's interesting that Jesus gave this set of steps to follow right before he had talked about leaving the 99 sheep to go find the one. And then after this, he talks about where 2 or 3 are gathered together in his name, that he is in the midst. And right in the middle of all that, he talks about reconciliation. Reconciliation is the key to relationships, to restoration, and belonging. And if we don't follow the process, the simple commands of Jesus, we get entirely different results. We get division, judgment, whispers, gossip, or in modern terminology, social media. Here's a little known fact. The way Jesus outlined dealing with fault and conflict among believers here in Matthew 18 does not include social media posts. Yeah. It does not include going to someone else to talk about someone else. If someone wrongs you, the right thing to do is to go to them personally. Gossip is easy. Whispering is easy. Talking about someone else is easy. But what Jesus said is better. Notice that you can't even follow this process unless you already belong to a body of believers. You need to be connected to the church. And the steps are very clear. First of all, go to the person and discuss the problem with them. If they don't receive it, well, there's a second part. But if they do receive it, you've won that relationship back. If they don't receive it, take 2 or 3 with you and have the same conversation. If they don't receive even that, then you're supposed to take it to the church and let the church deal with them, and then treat them, as Jesus said, as a pagan, a Gentile, or a corrupt tax collector. How did Jesus treat those people? Well, he still loved them. They just weren't a part of the community. But the steps have to also include the right attitude. Paul told us in Galatians 6, verses 1 through 3, he said, "Dear brothers and sisters, if another believer is overcome by some sin, you who are godly should gently and humbly help that person back onto the right path. And be careful not to fall into the same temptation yourself. Share each other's burdens, and in this way obey the law of Christ. If you think you're too important to help someone, you're only fooling yourself. You're not that important. The attitude is, in a spirit of humility, kindness, gentleness, we're not correcting someone to make it better for us, but we're carrying one another's burdens. And there's a process. Go to them. If that doesn't work, take others with you, so that in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses shall every word be established. If that doesn't work, go to the community of believers. And the process leads to the right kind of results. If we don't follow the process, if we don't follow the recipe, we're going to get something entirely different. Jesus said, settle it together in person. How can we put that into action